Okay. Good evening, everyone. I call to order a meeting of the Watchung Borough School District Board of Education. It's May 5th at 7 p.m. or 7:04 p.m. Let's have the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, there's the flag. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Welcome to a meeting of the Board of Education of the Borough of Watchung. Please be advised that this and all meetings of the board are open to the public and media, consistent with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Laws of 1975, and that the advance notice required therein has been provided. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Borough of Watchung at which formal action may be taken. This meeting is being live streamed on the district website, where a recording of the meeting also will be posted. The public will have an opportunity to be heard as shown on the agenda at points in the meeting provided for the public to address the board. Recording or photographing other than for private personal use requires the consent of parents and guardians whose children may be included in the image. Quick point of order, Dr. Glazer, there was some new language in this paragraph in the last meeting. Do we need to add anything here about exactly where it was published?
It would be Karen.
I'd have to look that up, but it was published on the website on March 17th.
Okay.
I'd have to look up the exact wording.
Okay. Just check if we need to update this
Okay.
going forward. Yeah. Okay. Can we have, when you're ready, we'll have a roll call. Thank you.
Mrs. Agliaro?
Here.
Okay, let's see. Mr. Kraft?
Here.
Mrs. Maddox?
Here.
Mrs. Marcellus?
Here.
Mrs. Santos?
Here.
Okay, Mrs. Amadeo?
Here.
Okay, Mr. Desiano, Mrs. Harvey, and Mr. Trickar are absent.
Okay. We will now begin the open public hearing on the 2026-2027 budget. This is the required public hearing on the 2026-2027 annual budget. The budget was advertised, approved as a tentative budget, and submitted to the Executive County Superintendent in accordance with NJSA 18A:22-8 and NJAC 6A:23A-8.1. So at this point in time, the open public hearing allows for the public to ask questions about the budget. That's different from how we've done it in the past, and it's different from the public comments section. This is the opportunity after the presentation is given for anyone to stand up and ask specific questions. And then when we have public comments, those questions cannot be answered, so that's comments only. Does that make sense to everyone? So we're trying to separate out questions from comments as part of sort of the structure of the meeting. All right, so I'd love to call Dr. Glazer and Ms. Bishop Johnson for the budget presentation.
Do you need my computer? You got it?
Nope.
Yours. Welcome, everybody. Thank you. We like to have an audience when we're talking about the budget, so we appreciate you being here. This is, as Amadeo said, the presentation of the final budget for the 26-27 school year. Just in case, I do see some people we don't know. I'm Julie Glazer. I am the superintendent of schools. Karen Bishop Johnson, our business administrator and board secretary. This final budget is a little bit different than previous because we've had a longer period of time between the tentative budget and the final budget presentation. Having that time really allowed us the opportunity to look at lines closely, continue our practice of looking beyond this budget into the next one. The boards had the opportunity to continue to discuss and ask questions, and tonight we bring you our very most informed decisions and recommendations to the community. During the tentative budget presentation, We spoke about the deficits from almost 3 years ago, the decisions that were made prior to my 2.5 years, Karen's 2 years here in the district, and the work that has been done, diligent work, I will say, by the two of us as well as the Board of Education to overcome many issues that we inherited. And again, tonight we're talking about the 2027 budget. We don't just build a one-year budget. The budget is the result of our strategic planning, that intentional decision-making, and we do continue to be proactive and realistic while we're considering the strengths and needs of the district and plan for the future. Obviously, we've continued to prioritize the funds available based on our fixed cost projections, and Karen will talk about that in some detail in just a minute. As long as Aaron goes, I'm okay. Thanks, Aaron. Just for some of our compliance pieces, this is our district vision. We updated it during our strategic planning and made academic success and included part of what our expectations are in this community. Can keep going, Aaron. Oh, there you go. Again, our strategic plan goals are the umbrella for our district and board goals. Our budget goals that we'll review in just a second also align with these strategic plan and district goals. Each component, there are 4 goals, each component complements the others, whether it's strategic plan, district goals, Board of Ed goals, or our budget goals. And we are here to ensure that over the next 3 to 5 years, stakeholder engagement, student achievement, operational efficiency are all prioritized, and collectively we work towards creating the supportive, effective educational environment that the Watchung Borough School District and community not just visions and set a future for, but that can be sustainable for upcoming years, academic and otherwise. One more. Thanks. Our district goals also. Go on. Again, some compliance, some review. Our budget timeline, we do need to go through, again, when you're seeing this, budget development begins in November. We work with the leadership team to have a draft by February, when we would typically receive the governor's state aid numbers. The tentative budget was submitted on time to the executive county superintendent by that March 27th for approval. And then we and the board continued to refine that budget document through April. Following the approval tonight, the user-friendly budget will be posted no later than May 7th. All of our staffing will be finalized with the budget and by May 15th, and the reappointment agenda will be voted on Thursday, May 21st at the next board meeting. Our budget overview, again, Karen will detail the revenues and expenditures that support our budget goals. This has been amended since the tentative budget for the final budget, not the objectives, just the revenues and expenditures. Aaron or Karen, whoever is clicking, who's ever in charge of our clicker. Our budget objectives, again, we are here to sustain what we've restored, what we've built, while continuing to support and grow new initiatives and systems. Our budget priorities, maintaining our current class sizes. This has been a priority for our past 3 budgets. You've heard us talk about the regionalization study and our projected enrollment growth. This budget currently reflects enrollment based on birth rate data. It does consider the impact of new developments and single-family turnover. We'll be continuing to talk about demographic studies with the borough and with the community in more detail. The other piece of this that bears mentioning and prioritizing is generating revenue. It's really a critical area of study going forward. In particular, we need to be able to build our reserves. The current revenue is, again, Karen will detail more from the tentative budget to now, cannot keep pace with the exponential rise of fixed costs. So we do need to really be looking at each of those pieces. Next one. And again, our key decisions to meet those objectives. Last year, for instance, we lost a kindergarten section. We had 3. Our projection is to gain back 1 this year, to go up to 4. Those are some of the ways to keep our class sizes stable. We have planned over the last 3 years to use our bank cap. This is the final year that those funds are available to us. Those funds are usually spent as one-time expenditures. Once that money's gone, it's gone. We will, as I said, not have it available to us again next year. The best educational research and best practices really guides what some of those one-time purchases are. Professional development, and it is one of our objectives, and bringing those program benefits back into the classroom remains an objective and a priority. That PD investment in our staff and our teachers does show long-term improvement, not just in classroom instruction and student achievement. It's also a long-term upgrade in instructional strategies. We look at it for mentoring our non-tenured staff with our veteran staff, looking at our subject-specific curriculum improvements. All of that is part of our professional learning. We aim to transform instructional practice and make it a sustainable investment. At the last meeting, we were able to name Natalie White as our new supervisor of instruction, and part of Natalie's responsibilities in that role is to further this professional learning model, coaching model, mentoring in-house, so it is a sustainable investment. Other types of one-time expenditures, at the middle school, we've been piloting a science program for adoption in grades 6 to 8. We have our Bayberry resources in math and English language arts to continue our adoption from last year. This, again, is one-time expenditures. They do not continue. Assistive technology. That might include learning adaptive systems like FM systems, text-to-speech technology, iPads for our younger students, and again, prioritizing at every piece how to stabilize our operations, continue our staffing, and support our services and purchase services. So turning it over to you to talk about what's new since the tentative budget.
Swap.
Right. Okay, so following the preliminary budget from March, we conducted a full review of the budget lines and incorporated updated information and verified all of the numbers that we had at preliminary time. Found that this reduction, there was a reduction in healthcare costs that directly impacted the healthcare adjustment. So that was dollar for dollar. And because of that, we were able to reduce the healthcare cost by $65,500, which reduced the healthcare adjustment and the local tax levy all at the same, for the same amount, at the same, one adjustment for all of those things. So you reduce the healthcare cost, that reduced the healthcare adjustment, that reduced the local tax levy, and therefore the percentage reduced. So that's the one major change, or that we made since the preliminary budget. The levy and the levy amount and the levy percentage were reduced, but this did not impact student programs or services. Okay, let's see if this actually moves. Now I have to do 2 clicking. No, it's okay. I just have to do it twice. Let's see if you can see that. So the so expenses in the district have to match the revenues. That's the way that these budgets work. And so a lot of times what we'll do is you'll figure out what do we need to keep the school running the way we want it to meet the goals next year, and that was determined to be about $21 million. So the revenues that we then need have to be $21 million. This chart just shows how the district is funded. The majority of the revenue, which is about 77%, comes from the local tax levy. That's funding our school, the local taxes. State aid is making up barely 6%. The amount of money fund that we ended up left over from last year is a little under 6%. And then you have some local and some grants making up the rest. So that majority really does come from the taxpayers. Looking at this screen, this shows you that over the past 3 years, and there's been some fluctuations in the category, but in general, the state aid has been decreasing. Where it used to fund just 3 years ago in the 24-25 budget, actually it's only 2 years, 7.7% of the budget, now it's only going to fund 5.94%, because our state aid has been decreasing and our costs are not decreasing. So now we need more from the local taxpayers to do that, to be able to have our programs and fund the way we wanted to. This is just a graph on the next screen showing you what that looks like. So just a picture of how much of it comes from the local tax levy. This is like a detailed revenue screen, and this will be a lot easier to see if you look at the user-friendly budget, which we'll post online in the next day or so. Mainly, the major something I want to majorly point out here is that when it says the FY26 revised budget, that's a certain point in time. That's actually February 1st, which is the state law. So even though you may see a big change, plus or minus, and you'll see this on the expenses, it really is at a point in time. And the only reason I emphasize that is because a lot of times people will look at it and be like, oh, why did that decrease so much? Well, on February 1st, it may have been a different number than what it will be on June 30th. And that's, the end of our year and the audit's done. And when you see actual numbers, that's really when you know it. But we do show this. It is in the user-friendly budget, so I do want to include it. You can see that like the federal aid down 30%, that's something to note. Budgeting very conservatively at only 70% of what we got last year. There's really no way to know how much we'll receive from the government this year. And that's pretty much, state aid looks like it went up, even though I just told you it went down. But that's because state aid includes some extraordinary aid, which is different. It's a different aid, and we don't, generally we don't budget all of it, but this year we're budgeting all of it, so it looks like it increased. But really it's the budget of the extraordinary aid. So that's a little bit more of a complicated concept, but it's out there, so I do want to say it in case anybody has any questions. This is, again, same thing, graph of all of that, just so you can see how that looks. And that is not in the right spot. Okay, wait a second. Yeah, I know it's odd. I don't like where that is. Yeah, that's not. Nope. It's like moving. Okay, let's see. Hold on one. Let me just catch up with my. Okay. Okay. Yeah, no, I know. No, it's okay. It's just. These are our expenses, and I'm going to switch screens. Hold on one second, because I don't like this screen here. No, it's fine. It's just, for some reason, some of these slides have moved a bit. So I just want to make this make more sense. Okay, these are our expense categories for this year. I highlighted the ones that are our biggest drivers of the expenses. You can see that is our regular programs instruction and our special ed instruction and our employee benefits. The instruction numbers, the first two, regular and special ed, also include salaries of the staff in those lines. So you see, you can see where the majority of our 21 million is. So it's in the regular programs are all of everything it costs to instruct a student in a regular program. Same thing with special ed. Employee benefits are a very big driver this year, mainly because of healthcare, as you've all heard already, and transportation and operations are also up there. The rest of it just makes up the difference of that 21 million. Looking at that on a graph, which does not mirror my computer, which I don't get, but it's the next screen on mine. But looking at that on a graph, you have, just to show you, like the special education you could see is 22%. It just shows regular education, 30%, employee benefits. It just shows you basically the percents and what makes up that whole budget of $21 million. Okay, let's go. I think we're going to the left. Or maybe we're going to the right. Okay, this is our per pupil spending. We did this, we do this every year. This basically gives a comparison of other districts, K to 8, who have, K to 8 districts with enrollment of 401 to 750 students. So it's comparable. It's not an exhaustive picture of the entire cost of educating students, but it does allow for citizens and administrators to compare specific measures. And generally, what you're going to see in these numbers is classroom instruction, support services, administrative operations, maintenance, things that are uniform throughout the districts. This comes from the Taxpayer's Guide to Education Spending. They're always a little behind us, so the best we can do right now is to get 23-24 actual numbers, but then the next 2 years are budgeted. Next year, you'll see the 24-25 will come out as actual when they gather up all their data, and it'll start to look a little bit more, more in the time that Dr. Glazer and I have been here. We'll start to see it a little bit more. So you can see that, we are blue. The Watchung district is blue. You can see that we have been increasing our per pupil spending over the last, 3-4 years. And that really was the intention. We did want to get closer. The gray bar is state average, again in the 401 to 750 enrollment. We did want to get above the average, or at least close enough to the average, where we were able to put enough funding into our student programs. So we are doing well with that. The next slide is showing the sending districts. Now, these are not 401 to 750, so, you have to kind of take it with a grain of salt, but this is all of the sending districts, and it's showing how much the per pupil spending is again. So we are what is, we are like the purple color that's supposed to be blue. It's blue over here. But we are, yes, and we are growing. We are growing it. We were, much lower in 22, 23, and every year we've been increasing it. We're doing what we wanted to do. We are moving up. We are definitely moving our, costs, spending per pupil up. Okay, let's see. We'll go find. So significant fixed costs that are in our expenses, these are the most significant. And again, these are also at a point in time. So when you look at this, if we ran another report tomorrow, it's not going to exactly be the same, but it's close. It's a February 1st, 25, 26, coupled with the budgeted, 26, 27. So you can see, that salaries and benefits have increased. Mainly that's the benefit. We did have a negotiated contract this year, so we all know that there's, the built-in average of 3.55% for all staff in there. And of course, the healthcare. Transportation, is going up. It usually goes up by CPI every year. That's the Consumer Price Index. It looks like our regular transportation may come in a little under, but our special education transportation is going to come in over. So I think that's a pretty good average. These are, hence the reason I call it a budget. It's like a best guess at this point in time, the best estimate. These are the fixed and non-discretionary costs. We can't really reduce these. The only way to reduce these type of costs or reduce our budget, we'd keep the cost and we'd end up having to impact a staffing or student services or other programs. This year we have not done that. This does drive the majority of our budget, these fixed costs. Again, this is just also, oops, sorry, got to do this. This also just basically shows you the percentage. So medical and dental, right there is very high increase this year at 21.5 average. Salaries are close to what I just said. The 3.6% utilities are through the roof this year at, especially the electric. And transportation costs, on the special education side are up. Insurance generally goes up 10 to 15% a year, and our out-of-district tuition and support services this year did increase rather strongly. Okay. When we look at a graph of healthcare, and it's a little bit hard to see those numbers, but you'll be able to see them online. The white bars is the amount that the district pays for healthcare over the last, since 2022, 2023. The healthcare has gone from $2.4 million in the 23 school year to estimated at, 3.5, 3.6 million this year. It's very high. The red shows you the amount of the contributions that the employees make. So you can see that the district is having to absorb a tremendous amount of the healthcare costs. Chapter 44 required that the employee health benefit contributions were calculated as a percentage of salary rather than a percentage of premiums. The premium growth exceeded the salary growth, so that's another way of saying or showing why the district has to absorb such a large share. Chapter 44 will sunset at the end of the 2027 school year, so we'll have to see what happens. Right. These are the total expenses, and this is similar to what I said before. This is at a point in time, so it's February 1st compared to the proposed budget. So if you see a fluctuation that may not look like, looks a little bit too broad, it could very well just be that we were not at the end of the year, but that's the way that these budgets are presented. There is the only, you will see, I did want to point out that regular program in the instruction, it does look like it went down, but that's because last year we had a lot of, we had budgeted and bought a lot of textbooks. That was a lot of money. So when you take out the textbooks, it looks like the instruction decreased. But it did not, because we don't need textbooks every year. And you see the same on the next screen. Same it takes. You can see at the bottom, though, on the proposed budget in the second column, that our operating expenses is $21 million, the same as the revenue. So it has to be the same. So then we get to the calculation of the tax levy. And the reason we are requesting more this year is because of everything I just said about the fixed costs and how much it's costing us to keep our programs the way that our goals have identified. Our 2% is $304,000, a little bit rounded, $304,000, and we have the bank cap that's expiring this year that Dr. Glazer just explained, and that adds $258,000 or $257,000, and then we have the healthcare adjustment, and as we went over during the preliminary budget, we are allowed to take an adjustment for a certain amount of healthcare expenses. Unfortunately, because they're so high, it's making for a very large healthcare adjustment. So the total additional taxes we're asking for this year is $1,058,700. So they were last year $15,190,000, and then the 2%, the extra bank cap, and the healthcare adjustment brings it to $16,249,000. The healthcare adjustment is just basically a wash. We're going to take that money plus extra money and just pay the bills all year. The bank cap, as Dr. Glazer explained, will be paying for those one-time expenses, and the 2% will just fund our general operating budget. This just really shows you that the increase is $754,000. So I didn't take the 2%. I'm saying above the 2%, there's a 4.97% additional ask. And that, again, is the fixed cost, the health care, the salaries, the utilities, the same thing to maintain those current programs and services and avoid reductions that would impact students. This is necessary to maintain the level of education our community expects while continuing to manage the costs responsibly. This is the tax calculation. A little bit hard to see, but what it's telling you at the end is that, let me just see the better way to explain this, is that the taxes, as I just said, are going, they're going to be 16 million, but on this screen you're seeing 17 because I included the debt repayment. So we have the referendum and the debt is in there, which really would be the total impact to the homeowners here, the taxpayers. The increase is basically $220 a year for a home that's averages of $1 million or 998,000, but it's close enough to $1 million. So it's $220 a year. It comes out to about $18 a month. I do have a calculation there. If you own a home in Watchung and you know your assessed value, you can multiply it by that 0.00022 and you can get your increase. And that's how you would do that. We did review that in the tentative too, so I think everybody pretty much, probably don't want to hear that again, but these are the average school taxes for 2025. Again, this comes from the Taxpayer's Guide to Educational Spending. You can see Watchung, it's showing about not quite $6,000 last year. So by the time, we do I hand in the taxes, and I'll say it's like this year, 6,600. Last year I said it was 6,300, but by the time they run all their formulas, and again, I'm at today or February 1, they're at July, it actually is a little bit lower. But that last year, and this is audited and on the website at $5,900. And the average $1 million home last year, the homes were a little less. This year they're a little higher. And the next screen just shows you how much of the taxes that are collected in Watchung go to the schools. So the purple is going to the schools for Watchung, Greenbrook, South Bound Brook, Warren, Bedminster. They're again our local nearby schools in the, just surrounding towns. And then in the green is what the municipality keeps, and then the yellow is the county share. So you can see how the taxes are distributed. We're right about 60%, maybe a tad less, right around there, or a little bit, right around 60%. That is the average in New Jersey. New Jersey is usually somewhere around 60, 65%, the average in New Jersey. So we are there. Some of our districts are a little bit higher, but they're still in the 60s. This is just another graph just showing that you can see that the property taxes, the property values have been increasing, pretty dramatically. They're 24% since 23-24 school year, but at the same time, the tax rate is decreasing by about 5%. But as the ratables increase, the tax base grows, and so it keeps the school tax lower. So we do benefit from that. It also keeps the municipal taxes lower, so the municipality benefits too. But the rising costs are still impacting the overall tax bill, so we still need additional funds, but the impact is less because the ratables are going up. So much so. This just shows you this is the tax rate per that, $100 of an assessed house. So in 24-25, it was 0.69, but by this year, it's down to 0.66. So it will decrease as the ratables increase. And that
It's stable regardless of our tax.
yes, because we are not impacting. We're not causing an impact to the taxes. So obviously we make efforts to control spending. We try to, we put in efficiencies wherever possible. A lot of you out here know how we're looking at purchase orders, we're checking vendors, we're really careful, trying to, not spend any extra money, no taxpayers' money. We, really are stewards of those funds. We are trying to keep our spending as low as possible. But we are struggling with those rising costs of the healthcare and the salaries and our out-of-district placements and our utilities. But all of the school districts right now, and you can see it in the paper every day, we're all in the same boat. So we are, hoping that the state of New Jersey is going to help out the districts and the municipalities, in the very near future. But managing these rates is just, like I just said, trying this is just not, we're not able to keep up with the rising costs. It's getting, more and more difficult. Again, why we need the extra revenue and why we asked for the 6.9, 7%. In summary, this budget is reflecting, the rising costs, the limited aid, and the continued efforts that we're making to manage that tax rate. And the proposed levy allows the district to maintain programs and services while remaining, fiscally responsible. So that's really the summary of this this budget. And I think that's really it. I don't think we missed any slides here. Most of these slides we did go over are tentative, so they're not necessarily anything new. Okay.
Are there any questions from the audience, from the public?
You just press it till the light goes on. You just hold it. Yeah. Does anybody have any? Yes.
If there are no questions, we can move on to public comments, but I just want to say one more time that at that point, there's no requirement to answer questions, so just last chance if there are questions. Okay. So, public comments on the 2026-2027 budget. We welcome input from the public. There are 3 times during the meeting when the public is invited to speak. First opportunity to comment on the 2026-2027 budget is now. 3 times? True?
In a regular meeting, you would have the public comment on items on the agenda, and then the additional comments not on the agenda.
So 3 includes.
This public hearing, you have comments on the budget.
Questions.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So this is the second time.
Yes.
Okay. This is the first opportunity to comment on the budget. The second opportunity for public comment will be on agenda items only, and this will follow the committee reports.
There aren't any.
Right, there are not any tonight. We really have to
That's
update
what I
this
was
language.
This is our only business.
Right, no, I'm aware. Yes. So, the second opportunity for public comment will be on agenda items only.
Which is the budget also.
This is the budget also. So there's no public comment option on any items.
After the public comment, you'll have your opportunity for board comment before you close the hearing.
I see. Thank
So
you.
have
I'm
public
sorry, everyone.
comment,
I should
then
have read
you'll
this in
have
advance.
Board comment and close,
you.
right? You'll close the hearing.
The third opportunity for public comment is towards the end of the meeting. Total time allotted for public comment is 30 minutes. Before you make your comment, please state your name and municipality of residence. In the event it appears the public comment portion of the meeting may exceed 30 minutes, the presiding officer may limit each statement made by a participant to 3 minutes duration. Our public forums are not structured as a question and answer session, but rather are offered as opportunities to share input with the board. In instances where the board feels a response is needed, the presiding officer or superintendent will address the comment. New Jersey statutes do not permit the board to discuss personnel or hiring in public session. Names of students should not be used. Members of the public should consider their comments in light of legal rights of those affected and identified in their comments, and be aware that they are personally, legally responsible with potential liability for comments that they make to the board. The board shall not be held liable for comments made by members of the public. Thank you for your patience.
Good evening. I'm Susan DeVillers. I am the co-president of the WBA and a language arts teacher here at Valley View. On behalf of the WBA, I want to express our appreciation for the proposed 2026-2027 budget. Thank you to Dr. Glazer and the board for always looking out for our students and keeping our professional community in mind. It's one thing to talk about creative problem solving and joyful learning, but seeing those ideas backed by the necessary resources is what matters. This budget feels like a practical roadmap to support continued growth for our students and staff. We are happy to see a budget that prioritizes ongoing professional development for the staff, providing us with the time and resources to develop new strategies and stay current with evolving technology, demonstrates a clear commitment to our professional growth and ultimately enables us to better serve our students. Maintaining our current class sizes and staffing levels means a lot to us as well. This is what allows our students the individual attention they need to really flourish. We also appreciate the budget protecting the extracurricular opportunities for our students. A balanced and comprehensive school day keeps students engaged and excited to show up and provides them with opportunities to further develop their communication, time management, and social skills, which are integral to a well-rounded education. We are also so excited about the new supervisor of instruction role. This role was established following last year's strategic planning meetings, during which community members, staff, administration, the board, and students collectively recognized the need for a supervisor at this level. Thank you for making it happen. Choosing one of our own teachers for this was a fantastic call. Having an individual who is not only highly qualified for the role, but also deeply familiar with our students, staff, and the distinct character of our community is invaluable to ensuring strong instructional continuity across our schools and team. Finally, We recognize and appreciate your leadership in navigating the challenges of declining state aid and rising costs. By balancing the budget while keeping the classroom a priority, you've ensured that we stayed focused on what matters most, the education and well-being of our students and staff. Thank you for your continued support, and we look forward to working together to provide our students with the strongest possible foundation in an ever-evolving world.
Thank you so much. Any other public comments? Okay. Thank you so much to all the teachers who came tonight and administration who came tonight to support this budget. We are now going to close the public hearing on the 2026-2027 budget and move into board discussion. I will begin by saying that I am proud to support this 2026-2027 school budget, but I do not take this position lightly. I know that households are struggling right now. Our Finance Committee worked diligently these past few months alongside the administration to minimize this year's tax burden as much as possible. And the numbers that you see today reflect this board's desire for a maintenance budget that will sustain current programming while trimming any fat we could find. In fact, as you saw in the presentation, a requested total budget increase is less than the forecasted rise in basic fixed costs such as utilities and healthcare that are affecting district and municipal budgets statewide. Every new dollar received next year will go towards covering these unavoidable fixed costs, and we believe despite the gap that we can make ends meet. Additionally, the Watchung Borough School District has been very transparent about our 3-year plan to recapture revenue that was left on the table in prior years. The economic damage of failing to address operating cost inflation prior to 2024 has had the compounding and cumulative effect of incurred losses over many years. These losses created a significant budget gap that has been challenging to close, and the work is still ongoing. And this will be the final year of that plan, and our banked capital request accounts for 1.69% of our total increase. Up until just last year, per pupil spend in this district ranked at the bottom of county and peer lists in New Jersey. This extreme austerity was not sustainable, and our schools have suffered for it, with outdated materials, program cuts, and turnover. Watchung residents deserve better, and that is why we have been steadily rebuilding these past few years. If you tuned into our recent NJSLA presentation, then you know that we are already seeing positive results from this multi-year investment. Student performance is improving, finally. It's exciting news, and if we stay the course, I believe wholeheartedly that steady and continued growth is on the horizon. I am proud to say now that our district sits at the middle of per-pupil cost comparisons with peer districts. We have worked hard to balance conservative spending with the investment that Watchung families and children deserve. Finally, I'd like to thank Dr. Glazer and Ms. Bishop-Johnson for their hard work on this budget and for their deep and unwavering commitment to our community. I'd like to express my gratitude to the teachers and administration, several of which are here this evening, for the love and care you provide to our children every day. And a final thank you to everyone listening this evening and to the community broadly for attending and streaming our meetings, for providing your feedback, and for your presence and participation in the district. I'm deeply grateful for the support we have received from so many families over these past few years. Thank you. Are there any other board comments or discussion?
So I wanted to briefly share tonight my vote decision. You know, I spent a significant amount of time weighing the impact on our community, taxpayers, while considering what is necessary to support the education of our student. I approached this thoughtfully with respect to both perspectives, students and taxpayers. Reviewing this budget, I focused on maintaining stability, protecting the equality of our schools, and making responsible long-term decisions for our district. One of my top considerations is retaining our staff. Strong schools depend on strong educators and support staff. To continue attracting and keeping high-quality employees, we must ensure salaries remain competitive. Without that risk, we are at risk for losing valued staff to other districts, creating disruption for our students, and also increasing costs associated with hiring and training replacements. Fixed costs, including healthcare, utilities, and contracted salaries, are outpacing what this increase brings in. But it closes the gap without cutting programs or staff. Equally important, I consider the impact of not improving this increase. Without it, the district would likely face difficult decisions, including reductions of our staff or cuts to student programs, such as athletics or extracurricular activities. These are impacts that directly affect our students with the overall strength of our schools. For me, this decision comes down to balance while managing rising costs, retaining strong staff, and protecting student programs, while remaining mindful of our impact to our community. Now, I understand that any tax increase matters, but I did not take this decision lightly, and the vote reflects what I believe is a responsible and sustainable path forward for our district.
We have several board members who were unable to make it tonight because of date changes to the calendar. I did have one board member email me comments to make, so these comments are from Mr. Desiano. Though I am unable to attend tonight's meeting due to an unavoidable work commitment, I want to make clear that I am fully in support of the proposed budget. Though a 6% tax increase is more than some may expect, I believe it reflects the needs of our district and our commitment to excellence. I'm grateful to the Operations Committee and administration for the time and diligence they put into building this budget. Most importantly, I want to express my heartfelt thanks to our teachers, whose dedication to our students is the true foundation of Watchung School District. While my vote does not count, because he's not here, I, Rich Desiano, vote yes for the proposed budget. Are there any other comments or thoughts? Okay. And with that, let's move to adopt the 2026-2027 budget. Jen, would you like to read and move item number 10?
Sure. I move adoption of the 2026-2027 budget. A, adjustment for healthcare costs at $497,694. B, adjustment for banked cap, $257,199. C, authorized maximum travel expenditure. D, authorized travel and related expense reimbursement for the 2026-2027 school year.
Second.
Mr. Kraft seconds. Is there any further discussion? All right, let's have a roll call.
Mrs. Maddox,
Yes.
Mrs. Marcellus,
Yes.
Mrs. Santos,
Yes.
Mrs. Amadeo,
Yes.
Mr. Kraft,
Absolutely.
and Mrs. Agliaro.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Desiano, as you know, Mrs. Harvey and Mr. Trick are absent, but the motion passes.
Thank you all. Thank you, everyone. So there is no place for comments at the end. That's okay, yes? Okay, then
Move to
may I
close.
have a motion to adjourn
So moved.
and a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good evening, everyone. Good night.